Hi everyone, it's Amanda. How are you doing? Sorry to turn my back on you, just wanted to put that picture of David up. So it is the 10th of June. Interesting, I was just about to say the 10th of January. 10th of January was the day that David Bowie died in 2016. How interesting, I nearly said that date. It is actually the 10th of June 2019 though, when I make this video. And I am going to be bringing through the energy of David Bowie. This is the second attempt at doing it. I got about 25 minutes in and I wasn't that pleased with the way that I was expressing things. And I went downstairs, I had a cup of coffee. I thought, what the hell is going on here? Why is this proving to be so difficult? And I'm realizing that David was a real perfectionist. And I thought that, I mean, I understand that because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Other members of the Heart Squad that I have channeled so far have also been perfectionists, Michael Jackson being one of them. But this is like a different level. It's like I've really got to get it right. And of course I always try to get it right anyway. But anyway, we are going to do this again. And this time, David, this is going to be the one that goes out, okay? He's saying, okay. Okay, he's saying we've had our dress rehearsal. All right, maybe he was a stickler for dress rehearsals or something like that. That's what it was. Okay, it's starting to make sense now. I was actually getting nervous. I was thinking, why is this so difficult? So, breathe. David Bowie. I made a video yesterday, June the 9th, 2019, just explaining, if you've stumbled upon this video, who I am, why I'm doing this work, how I channel, and why I am bringing through people like David Bowie at the moment. So if you haven't watched that, go and watch that because I'm not going to repeat information in it here. David Bowie is the 6th member of what I'm calling the Heart Squad, a group of beings that are coming back to help teach and heal and instruct us. And their energy is amazing. Also, it struck me today that a few of them that are coming back, and ones to come, are coming back because their message was so important that almost like a new generation needs to hear it, as well as some people who might have been alive during their time, that for whatever reason, the message just passed them by a bit. And I noted that myself with Michael Jackson and his message. It's almost like I liked him, but I'd never really got him until he came back via the channelings that I've done. And this is the same with David, because although of course I know who David Bowie is, I know most of his tracks. My good friend Clara did a radio show just shortly after he died, and I chose one of my favourite tracks. I remember Absolute Beginners was actually one of my favourites. But even that, now I'm looking back, I'm thinking, yeah, but I didn't really get him. And I certainly didn't follow him religiously or anything like that. But now I'm looking back at some of the songs and I'm thinking, wow, you know, and again, putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together with these other stars, and it's like there's a very, very important message coming through. Ellis is the other one as well. Haven't done him yet, but I will be doing him soon. And I know, again, it's almost as though there is a generation that lived through that period, but there's a whole other generation of people who need to rediscover. It's not just about the music, it's about their energy and it's about what they stood for. And we need their help, basically. So David is coming back today to help. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to just introduce him. Not that he really needs any introductions, because how many people in the world go by one name? You know, Bowie, you know who he is. We can think of a few others. Prince, of course, was one as well. He's another one of the Heart Squad. But most people have a second name through which to identify them. But David Bowie, it's just everyone knows who he is. So I'm going to roll back 48 hours because his energy started to come in consciously 48 hours ago, although he's been hovering for quite a while and he's been very requested for me to do this. And what I have been doing is getting to know him. So I've got some notes written down here. I'm just going to say what I've got written down already. Then we're going to bring him back across the Rainbow Bridge and connect with his energy in a very pure, direct way. And we'll just have a conversation, as I've done with the other Heart Squad members that we've done this for. So, David Bowie, let's just have a look at his birth date and the day that he died. He was born on the 8th of January 1947. And if you add all the digits of that up, in terms of numerology, he comes to what we call a 30/3. In fact, I pull out the date of his birth, which is 8. I also want to look at 30 and I want to look at 3. 8 is linked to the planet Saturn. And I am referencing a colour numerology system that I have trained in over the years, which is colour mirrors, okay? So that's where the references come from. So 8 is linked to Saturn, and straight away I wonder what his relationship was with his father, actually. I have no idea, but often a very strong Saturn energy links to that father dynamic, let's just put it that way. And Saturn's energy is also very much linked into hard work, perseverance, and dedication, commitment to a craft or to what you do. And it's also to do with structure, and it's to do with order. And he's very interesting, David, because on one hand, I really do feel this quite structured energy around him, and meticulous energy. It's like I've had to do this video again. It's like it's just got to be just so. But yet he was also so fluid and so creative and about breaking out of boxes. So it's a really, really different energies that make up who the man was at soul level, certainly in this incarnation. The 30 energy that is attached to his birth date is linked into a turquoise vibration. In fact, I can show you. This is bottle number 30. And it's to do with somebody who is a highly creative soul. We know that about him, obviously. But this is somebody that, unless they follow a creative way of life, ultimately it would have led to burnout, okay? So you have to find a creative outlet for all of this emotion that is within you, all of the ideas, all of the inspiration that is within you. Is very much linked into that. And it tends to be a vibration of somebody who is a poet, an artist, a singer, a dancer, you know, many other ways in which we can be creative. But I think probably he embraced all of that. He had all of those qualities and he put them all into this identity, which was David Bowie. Of course, the real man, David Jones, was his actual birth name. May very well have had a different flavour, okay? But in terms of Bowie, the artist, the poet, the singer, the dancer, the whole thing, okay? And then number 3, 30, 3 and 0 make 3. 3 is linked to the planet Jupiter. So it's quite interesting. There's 2 planetary, he's got within the 3 numbers that are associated with his numerology, 2 of them linked to planets of the solar system. So we've got Saturn and now we've got Jupiter. 3 is linked to Jupiter. Jupiter is a coral energy. Jupiter is linked, a coral is about being very sensitive, being very empathic as well. Not just sensitive, being an empath, really being able to feel at a very, very deep level and being very in tune as well. He was very in tune with the times. He was very in tune with the characters and the identities that he wore through different periods of his life. He drew them towards him, he became them. He felt them at a very, very deep level. He and them were one. And I just noted today, I saw one of my friends had written something about the astrology of this week. I don't know whether it's the astrology of this week or it's the astrology of today, but it was something about Jupiter as a planet is extremely close to the Earth at the moment. And that really made me smile, just as I'm about to channel David Bowie, who's got this Jupiter energy linked into his soul signature. But as I say, he's actually got many different planetary signatures, and we will ask him about that. because he certainly has already been talking to me about the Andromeda energy, which is another star system. With Prince, we were referencing the Pleiades, for example. I think other star system signatures have come up as well with some of the others. Can't remember off the top of my head what they were. But with David Bowie, I'm hearing Andromeda. I don't know an awful lot about the Andromeda energy, so it's going to be quite interesting for me as well to hear what he has to say about that. But I'm going to leave that until he actually is here and he's come across the Rainbow Bridge to join us. Want to just make a nod to the fact that he died on the 10th of January 2016. That adds up to an 11 energy. And if you followed my work for a while, you'll know that 11 is an energy that is strongly connected into the Metatron frequency, but it's a gateway energy. So I feel as though the day that he died, even though it was sad, of course, for those that loved him and who he left here on the earth plane, particularly his family and his friends, as well, obviously, as the people who admired his work. But there was a gateway, there was a moment, that was the moment that he was meant to go back from whence he came. And he showed me something in the first video that I tried to make on this, which was quite interesting, when I was talking about this gateway energy on the day that he died. And he brought in the energy of the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I haven't seen it for years, but if you remember the film, there is sort of this spaceship ultimately that lands, and it comes in with colour codes and sounds. There are sounds, or more like, maybe I want to say tones. There are tones and there are colours that almost precede the landing of the ship. And then the ship, I can't remember whether it's at the start of the film, the end of the film, the ship's doors open and there's just this amazing white light. And the beings then, I guess, come out of it and then go back. Maybe there's a bit of E.T. coming into this as well. So they're both quite similar films. But the point is, I saw this, what I can only describe like a ship, with the doors that opened, with the white lights like mist, and his energy, his soul energy, being welcomed back into whatever that is that came for him to carry him across time, dimensions and realities to wherever it is that he was meant to go after death, to recuperate, to heal, to just be, okay? It doesn't mean, and I'm not saying that there was a physical spaceship that people saw on that day that he passed. I'm talking about it was an energetic, it was energetic, okay? That was basically what was effectively happening. I'm trying to put it in sort of imagery that we can understand, okay? And indeed, yesterday I was playing one song of his pretty much constantly, and it was the one that he told me to play, which was not immediately obvious, but of course it is in the title really, and it's Loving the Alien. So not one of his songs that maybe is the most well loved or well known, but that was the one that he drew my attention to. And of course there's rich symbolism within that, loving the alien, because I feel as though he was galactic in nature, no doubt about that. He was also a time traveller, no doubt about that. And landing here on Earth as David Jones, I think he felt very much like the alien that had just landed. It's like, what the hell is this place? I think a lot of the other members of the Heart Squad shared that experience as well. But for him, it was very much about learning to love this place, Earth, which I think he did grow to love, definitely, via the people in particular that he met along the way. And I'm also being told that he was very lucky in many ways, because he had in his family group people who were, I want to just say, of the same origin, okay? So in that, I'm talking about his wife, Iman, is that how I pronounce her name? Just get her name up. And also his son. I don't know a great deal about his family. Let me just have a little look here. I just want to make sure I'm saying her name properly. Very striking, beautiful woman, of course. And there's something about her that is very, very otherworldly, is the only way I would put it. Yeah, there she is, Iman. Oh, she was a Somali, American Somali fashion model is how she comes up on Wikipedia. It says it's been nearly 3 years since the death of her husband, and she still wears a gold pendant around her neck, which says David. That was from last October. Anyway, yeah, I'm picking up her energy very strongly in terms of she was of the same ilk, I want to say. Okay, she was of the same line as him, as was his son. And did he just have one son? I want to just check this as well. I'm picking up the boy that he called Zowie. Did he call he called a child Zowie or something, didn't he? Son. Oh, he's got a daughter as well. Okay. So he's got a son and a daughter. For some reason I'm picking up the son, but you know, I'm sure just looking at the daughter as well, I can see that she's pretty special as well. So anyway, so yes, he found his tribe. He found his tribe, and he had that around him, which was very beautiful for him. Made him feel less alone, basically. I'm just looking down at some notes here because there's a few things I wanted to mention, which I thought were just interesting, actually. We are all stardust, he's saying. And it's good to be reminded of that fact, actually, because we all walk around as these sort of we're humans, and we're walking around on Earth, and it can all get a bit heavy sometimes with gravity. He's talking about gravity as well, because wherever he comes from, there's no gravity. There is a video he did, didn't there, where he's like floating around in space. Yeah, well, that was really comfortable for him, because where he basically comes from, there is no gravity. So gravity, as we know, is just an earthbound straitjacket, he's saying. And he found that really, really difficult, actually, to acclimatise when he first landed as a baby as such. But yes, he's reminding us that we are all stardust. And I had a little look. You can do this yourself, just look up on Google about that. There's a lot of scientific evidence and physics that back up that basically the elements that are within our body, be they carbon or anything else, they all basically come from outer space. So everything really in this earth is created from explosions that come from stars, you know, exploding in on themselves, supernovas, and we are products of that. So I feel very strongly he also came to remind us of that although we're earthbound in this incarnation, that we are of stardust, and that opens up just such beautiful channeling probably that wants to come through. So I'll ask him about that. I want to also talk about metals with him, because I went to put on crystals today, because I always wear crystals, and it's not that he's not into crystals, it's more just that I was really drawn to wear metals today, even to the point that, you know, he said to get these earrings. These actually were given to me. They're of the Brooklyn Bridge, and they're silver, and there's something about silver that seems to be very in tune with his vibration. Oh, okay, I suppose silver, when you think about it, has a reflective quality to it. It's a bit like looking into a mirror. If we're being asked to look into a mirror, we have to really see who we are. And again, that was an aspect to him. Who are we? Who are you? Don't put me into a box. Don't think that I have to be a certain way. Look deeper. So there's this thing about metals and mirroring, and silver in particular. Liquid metals as well, okay? As I was getting ready today, I will just say this, as I was getting ready today to do this, I woke up and I was feeling really tired, actually. I think there's a lot that's going on energetically today out there, and a lot of people are feeling a little bit spaced out. And I was thinking, I'm not sure if I can do this video today. I just, you know, I'm not sure I feel on top form. And straight away, you know, his energy is there, you know, beside me at the dressing table. They all seem to come to me at the dressing table as I'm putting my makeup on. And he was like, sort of like trying to G me up a bit. But what he was doing was he showed me an image of him before he used to go on stage as David Bowie, you know, and he would just be sat there basically as David Jones. And sometimes he would be really having to, yeah, like pump himself up a bit. And the act of putting on the makeup, the act of putting on the clothes was linked into drawing in the energy that he needed, but also that he was going to channel through that performance. So, you know, the makeup that he used to put on, I'm seeing the zigzag. I don't know what era that was. As I say, I'm not a Bowie super fan, so I don't know, but I'm seeing the zigzag on his face. Was all part of drawing the energy to him, very much becoming that. So it's almost like becoming the zigzag. I'm just looking behind me because I've got a deck of cards. I don't know if I'm going to use this in this video, but it's the Starman Tarot, which is inspired by David Bowie. And you can see the creator of this deck, who's called David Angelis, has actually put the I wanted to call it the code onto the box. Even doing that, I'm tracing the line, a bit like a labyrinth. I'm tracing that, I'm becoming that. I'm actually bringing down the energy of that from the higher realms to earth. There's something about that, okay? It's very Prince-like, you know, Prince had the symbol, bringing it down via that way. But yeah, definitely this morning he was like, okay, no, put your makeup on, get into the energy. And I went through my wardrobe and there was nothing that felt appropriate. And by that, what I mean is, I know I don't have to look a certain way to do this work, but it's what David has just said to us. We draw the energy to us. So I wanted, his energy feels today, I was looking like angular, tailored, elegant, structured. You know, if there'd been a lovely business suit in my wardrobe, I would have worn that, but not like a really boring business suit. Something that's very sleek and elegant. Anyway, I didn't have it, so I put this top on, and this top is very, it's quite angular. You know, it's sort of, it's flattening actually. And that was another thing that was quite interesting, because the androgynous energy with him, I was feeling that so strongly. I've never really even thought much about my curves in terms of being a woman. I mean, they're just there, you know, they're just what we are when we're women. But again, he wasn't trying to change me, because he's the last person that would try to change you. He embraces you whatever you look like. But it's more that because his energy was coming through me, I was feeling that androgynous energy. And for the first time I was thinking, oh my God, I wish I had a flat chest. I wish I was more flat chested. It was like, where's that come from? What's that all about? And then I thought, oh, of course, yeah, it's this androgynous energy. Just really interesting. I found it very, very interesting. Okay, anything else to say before we bring him over the bridge? No. Okay. He's asked me to bring in some tuning forks, a bit like what I was just saying about the close encounters and the tones. So we are going to, what day was he born? The 8th. We're going to ring 8 tones then with them. That feels appropriate. Was the 8th, wasn't it? Yeah, 8 tones. And we're going to build the rainbow bridge. So, as you've probably seen on other videos that I've done, I'm going to use the rainbow bridge spray, and we are just going to invite David to make a direct communication via me, but also via you, because I know that when they come across the rainbow bridge, you feel it as well. Okay. David Bowie. He's got a sense of humour, because he's saying first contact, you know, very much like when you land on the moon for the first time. It's like first contact. It's like first contact with me. That's what it feels like. First contact with us in this way. First contact as a member of the Heart Squad in this way. Okay. All right. Let's create the rainbow bridge then. I'd like you to imagine that where you're sat now, there is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because you are golden and you are divine, okay? So see yourself sat at one end of the rainbow with this beautiful pot of gold. And then we are visualizing and bringing in this beautiful, what I want to call galactic rainbow that extends very high and very wide, and it reaches off into the far distance, further than you can actually see, and it lands somewhere. And it lands in the place where David is at the moment. And the one thing that I'm noting is that the other end of the rainbow, rather than a pot of gold, there is a pot of what looks like something along the line. It looks a bit like mercury. It's the only way I can describe it. It's like mercury in a thermometer. It's silver, it's quite thick, it's reflective, it's an unusual texture. It's not mercury, but it's the only way I can describe it, okay? It's not poisonous, it's actually very highly prized on the place where he now is, okay? And the Rainbow Bridge, for the first time ever, I'm seeing made up of different colours. So they aren't the colours of the traditional rainbow. They are actually colours that belong to a different time and a different dimension. I can pick out the silver and I can pick out golds. I can pick up something that looks like white, but it is very bright and iridescent. The other colours within this rainbow are sparkling, opalescent. They are of a different world. Is the only way I can describe it. And there is also a scent that I can pick up that again, I can't register what the smell is. It's not unpleasant. It's just I don't know. It's just a scent. It's a smell that's coming from this different place. And you and I and Metatron are now going to just walk to the brow of the rainbow. So we stay earthbound and we walk to the brow and we await David. And it is Metatron that calls David across the Rainbow Bridge from the place where he is now to meet us if he would like to. And it's like, I think David was very polite and liked politeness and quite formal in some ways, actually. Very much like it's like a gentleman's type energy. Because what I'm feeling, I can smell the smell again. Because what I'm feeling now is that an invitation had been sent to David in an envelope. I'm seeing the envelope again, this silvery colour. So David had received that and knew that today he was going to be asked to come back over the bridge and be with us. And he's very punctual, I'm hearing, very punctual. And I'm seeing him now just walking back over the bridge to meet us at the brow. And he is very softly, he's walking with very soft steps. Although I'm also, interestingly, I'm seeing that the steps that he's making on the bridge are leaving a footprint on the bridge. You know, like when you walk across sand and you see footprints in the sand, I'm seeing the footprints that he's making coming towards us, being left as he walks further towards us. He strikes me as he gets nearer to us as very tall and lean as he was in life, very slender. He is wearing... He's wearing a suit. He is wearing a suit. I'm just double checking. He's wearing a suit. The suit is a pale colour. It's cream. It's like a cream colour. It's not white and it's not clinical. It's, again, it's very beautifully cut. It's a cream suit, basically. And although it is casual in style, it isn't, it's still very, very smart. It's very tailored. It's almost as though it's a suit that's supposed to look quite casual, but to be able to look like that, it's had to be tailored to the absolute perfection to fall in exactly the right way. And he's saying it was one of his favourite suits. Okay, so he's put that on for us. same coloured trousers. He's got a pair of shoes on his feet that are very tailored and very polished. I'm seeing like a shine in his shoes. You know, it's almost like an army type thing of where he comes from. Army isn't the right word, but it's the only way that I can describe it to you. In the army, you have to polish your boots. You have to, almost like, so you spit in them so you can see your face in them. And again, it feels like wherever he comes from, there is this thing about order and just it being important. So, you know, he turns up looking the right way and the best that he can. And he's doing that, he says, as a mark of respect for us, because he is very honoured to be here and very glad to be invited. And at that moment, he just sits down, and he's just sitting on the seat that is provided for all of the beings that come to be with us. So let's just spend a moment just thanking him for being here firstly. And I'm just going to get a sense of what it is that I need to be talking to him about. He's saying it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be with us. Seeing this little dog at his feet for some reason. I don't know why. There's a little dog at his feet. It's a really small little dog. Okay. Right. Okay, let's see what we're going to ask you then, David. I'm just going to put his picture here in front of me. And I love the picture because he told me to print this one out. And it's like I said yesterday, it's like he's signing in for duty, you know? Again, that's like sergeants do that, signing in for duty. You know, I'm here on planet Earth, I'm signing in. It's that type of message with him. Okay, so let's just get a feel for what's going to come through. Would you like to tell me a little bit about Andromeda? Okay, because that's one thing I have heard you say already. So Andromeda, let's just talk a little bit about that. I'm going to try and describe the feelings that I'm getting that he's showing me with regard to Andromeda. He's showing me the elements, okay? Now, they're not going to be exactly the same as we experience here on Earth, because of course it's going to be different. But I'm feeling as though there's a strong aspect of air element, okay? And I'm also feeling it's not hot, it's more cool than anything. It's quite cool and it's airy, but it's not airy like we have here because the gravity is completely different, but there's a coolness, okay? It's very, it is very structured, he's saying, okay? It feels as though there is a strong link to symbols, and to what we would call sacred geometry, but the sacred geometry that we know here on Earth isn't necessarily the same as they have there. So we know, and I know from my work with Metatron, that some of the symbols that we are used to seeing, such as the flower of life, for example, which has been repeated over and over, you know, through many generations and civilizations, you know, dating back to Persian times, Egyptian times. We're familiar with what the flower of life looks like, but he's saying there are different geometric forms that exist in Andromeda, and it feels very angular. It feels very angular. I'm not feeling it's curved, okay? It's quite interesting. I'm not feeling curves. I'm feeling it's much more angular and pointed, and precision. Something about real precision as well. Precision and points and angles. Everything has its place, but everything knows that it's part of the whole. Everything works everything works in unison, and everything recognizes that it is an important part of the, for want of a better word, machine. You know, machine being sort of life, consciousness itself. In fact, he's saying that life itself is a bit like a machine. Consciousness is a bit like a machine. And what you feed the machine is what you get out of it. So he's showing me, you know, a very earthbound machine here. This is going to sound a bit silly, but he's giving the analogy of a jukebox, okay? So it's like anything. It's like what you put into the jukebox is what you maybe get out of it. But it's not about money. It's about feelings. It's about intentions, it's about energy. You get out of the machine, life, consciousness, what you put into it, okay? And he says there is always payback for wrongdoing, and there is also always reward for those that try hard. Even if you cannot see it in this life, reward comes from God, the Creator. Ultimately, everything is balanced and equal in that way, okay? So he's talking about that. He's talking about grid work. It's like a very mechanical type energy. Machine grids, structure. So what about the heart, David? Tell me about the heart. The heart is the thing that pulses the machine. The heart is the thing that creates the grid. Okay. Sorry, the heart. So the heart is what... The heart is at the centre. He's also bringing in heart surgery. He's bringing in some of the techniques and tools that are already here but are going to be coming in the future to help with heart conditions and heart surgery. He's saying that the technology comes from another dimension. It's almost as though what he's saying is there are ETs that walk amongst us with a higher level of consciousness in terms of some of these new technologies which wider society benefits from. And for some reason he's bringing in surgical procedures that link into, for example, the heart, but not exclusive to the heart, also to other parts of the body as well, okay? All right, let's just see where we're going to go now. So, Andromeda, are there many beings from this place then, David, on Earth? He's saying yes. He's saying we have a good representation on Earth. He says, although no one should get too restrictive in their thinking in terms of just one place, because we are all multi-dimensional energetic beings that have visited many galaxies, many planets, many places. You are made of stardust, remember. It is just that, like anything, in the same way on Earth, there are particular countries or places that you resonate with particularly well and you like to go back to and revisit and spend time there. And it is the same with us at a dimensional level. So he's saying that Andromeda, for whatever reason, is a place that he particularly likes to visit and particularly likes to spend time but it doesn't mean that he hasn't also travelled to other parts of the star system, which he says is not the star system that we know it to be. He's showing me it going much further back in time than we can ever comprehend in this life. And he's saying don't try to, because you'll get a headache. So he's saying it doesn't matter. It's just as long as you appreciate that there are many places that you do not know exists, there are many parallel realities, and that it is an earthbound problem that we try to just box people or beings or souls into one place within the universe. You are all creatures of the multi-universe, is what he's saying. Okay. Andromeda. The other thing I feel very strongly was I heard the word androgynous with Andromeda. So do you want to just say a little bit more about that? He said yes, and some of the other Heart Squad have mentioned this, and he says I concur. Yeah, this has come through from Prince. I think it was Prince that brought this concept through in terms of androgyny, the fact that male and female sort of are one in some way. They can be both separate but one at the same time. Tell me about androgyny. It's a very new concept for many on earth to get their head around. He says, but many have come in the past to bring in this concept, particularly over the last few decades. But this is going to become something which is going to become much more and more visible, that there will be a blurring of lines between a male and female, because the damage that has been done to two separate camps in terms of sex has been immeasurable and has held back the evolution of Earth to a huge degree. And so the merging of the two helps to bridge that. I'm still sensing that you're able to see male or female, but I'm just sensing this blurring. In terms of others that have come to teach this and to demonstrate this, I've definitely got the energy of Marc Bolan. I've definitely got the energy of Boy George, okay? Those two in particular, but he says there are others and there will be more that come. Oh, Annie Lennox as well. I'm feeling her energy as well. And he says if you take those examples that are actually existing here on Earth now, Annie Lennox and Boy George, they're both references back to the 80s, so apologies if you don't know who they are, but you can just research it. You do know that Annie is a woman and you do know that George is a man, but yet both of them have blurred the energy in terms of male-female. And he says they are both quite good examples of what I'm talking about, and indeed it's what he did as well, okay? So androgyny. Androgyny is there to help try to bridge the differences which just have not been able to be bridged for thousands of years. He said this is a problem which has been running out of control on planet Earth in terms of the sexes not being equal and identities just being too much in polarized camps. He's showing me magnets. You know, the magnets, and you've got the different poles at the end of the magnets, and he's saying that there has to be almost like a collapsing of that so that we can bring the two together. And then when they see that they are more similar to each other, then they can start to live more in harmony with each other. But what I'm not sensing is just one sex, you know, going forward in terms of male and female not existing anymore. It's more this blurring of lines to harmonize and for each to start to understand each other a little bit better, okay? He said an example of it would also be a woman, for example, who right now is able to go and operate in a man's world. It helps to show those men that the woman is capable of doing it, and it shows the woman that she is capable of being in that world. So it's about bridging, and it's about the two starting to understand each other better. But I still feel there will always be the two sexes, certainly for the foreseeable future. He's not showing me anything different with that. Okay. Let me ask a question now, David. Let me just put my glasses on. Oh, I know what I want to talk to him about. One of his songs, Life on Mars, you know, I'm sure you know it, but it's one of those songs that when you actually go back and reread the words, my goodness, I read the words almost like for the first time today. You know the song, but I actually read the words and I got it. You know, I really got it. How beautiful are the lyrics. Life on Mars. The thing about it is that when you read those words, what comes through very strongly from him is the fact that it's almost like a cry of despair for what we're doing down here on Earth. So Life on Mars lyrics. Let me just read you a couple of the pertinent lines from that. Okay. It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no and her daddy has told her to go. I'm paraphrasing, but the film is a saddening bore, for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools as they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if he'll ever know he's in the best-selling show. Is there life on Mars? And then this phrase as well. He talks about America. It's on America's tortured brow that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow. Now the workers have struck for fame, 'cause Lennon's on sale again. See the mice in their million hordes, from Ibiza to the Norfolk Broads. Rule Britannia is out of bounds, to my mother, my dog and clowns. There's just this energy with that, which is just like, you know, what are we doing? What is this script that we're all stuck on down here on Earth, where we've forgotten the magnificence of creation and we're stuck somehow to more lower dimensional reality? And he just feels as though, you know, it was always about trying to break out of that box and lead by example and show us a different way. So I'm going to ask him about life mission now. Let's just ask about his life mission. So show me a little bit then, David, about your mission here on Earth when you were alive. What were you trying to do? He's saying he made it up as he went along a lot of the time, although he put 100% of his energy into each of the phases of his life. He was always very conscientious and wanting to get it right. But he says there was never really a script as such. If anything, his instruction upon coming down here was to teach fluidity and not being stuck. And so, therefore, to teach that, you can't come in with a rigid script. Okay. He's talking about the personas and the identities that he embodied during different times when he was alive, and how they offered him the ability to be able to experience a different reality while still being here on Earth, because Earth is a place where we get stuck in just one identity, and we do it to ourselves, but equally we do it to other people. And he says it's so important that in the decades that you have here on Earth, that you try on many different outfits. And he's using outfit in terms of a symbol, okay? It's not literal. So he said this to me earlier, that one of the best ways that we can sometimes do this in life actually is via our occupation as well. And, you know, if we go back a couple of generations, it was really normal to take a job and to have to, I don't know, be at that desk for the next 40 years. And if you're lucky, you get your pension at the end of it, and then you sign off and, you know, all the rest of it. But he's saying now, try to embrace the fact that there is no such thing as a job for life. Don't see it as a negative. See it as something that is truly liberating. Because although it is challenging at a 3D Earth level in terms of security and safety, what it's actually there to do is to help show you that you can reinvent yourself and create a new life each time you put on the new suit. Okay, so the new suit could be anything. It could be, you know, working in a shop as opposed to training up doing something else, working in a garage. It could be going on stage, it could be going into healing, it could be going into teaching. But it's about not getting stuck in a certain groove. He says it's really important not to get stuck in a certain groove, and he says it's important to mix it up. And he mentioned to me earlier, I must just say this because it pleased me as well, because sometimes I wonder what I'm doing. And he was saying he quite likes the way I work, because I mix it up. You know, I'm not just sticking with one thing or one energy or one way of doing it. And he's saying that's the way you learn, and that's good. Okay, so be somebody who isn't afraid to show different sides of yourself. Be somebody who isn't afraid to try something new. He says it doesn't have to just be with regards to work. It could be anything. It could be a hobby. It could be the way you look, the way you present yourself. It could also be in terms of where you live. He says people often can get very stuck in terms of just one particular area. But again, from a soul level, although for some people that can work, for many of us that are, he's saying space wanderers, it can be almost like a death. It can be like a death to just be in one place forever. So he says some of us have got that stardust still very much imprinted on the soles of our feet, and we need to be allowed the opportunity to wander as much as we can, very much like we do between planets and different galaxies within the wider universe. Okay, so he's saying some of you recognize that you've got that stardust on your feet, and rather than thinking there's something wrong with that, realize that it's something which is there to help you grow and help you evolve. Okay, I got the Bob Dylan song in my head as well, like a rolling stone as well. For some reason Bob Dylan's coming in there at that point as well. Definitely feel Dylan's energy. Okay, so what are you doing then, David, sort of wherever you are now? How your consciousness, what is it, what are you experimenting with at the moment? Are you experimenting, or are you just at peace and not doing much? And he's sort of like roaring with laughter at that. He's saying no, he's still working on the other side. He's still busy. He's saying, oh, that's interesting. He's saying space years are exactly the same as Earth years, in terms of the fact that in Earth years, when you get older, the worst thing that you can do is just stop learning, stop exploring, you know, just sit in a chair and not do much. And he's saying it's the same in space years. He says it's important to keep learning and to be inquisitive and to want to adventure on. Okay. Sorry, there's noise outside the window, but it's sort of related to what I'm trying to bring through here, which is that somebody's just arrived and they're putting scaffolding up at the house opposite. And in a way, that's interesting, an analogy, because it's almost as though we adventure and we explore on, whether we are in space or whether we're here on Earth, when we feel safe to do it, when you've got some scaffolding around you. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the scaffolding around you then. What do you have around you, David, then, when you're exploring wherever it is you're going? He says, I have 100% conviction in who I am as a soul, as a being, as a light, and I understand that all the other lights that are around me as well are there to almost like have my back type energy. That's sort of what I'm feeling. So he's saying, when you look up into a midnight sky and you see all of the different stars, and maybe there's just one that you resonate with and that you feel links into your energy, realize that that star is not alone. Realize that that star is surrounded by a billion others that also are there and that are supporting that single spot of light. He's saying we are all single spots of light, and some of us may shine brighter, but everybody has the potential within them to shine as bright as the next star, in different ways, in different forms, and also in different times. And by times, he's actually talking incarnations. He's saying that over many incarnations, which we all have, everybody has a chance to step forward into more of what we would call the limelight, and at other times to recede more and want to play more of a background role. but realize that the soul wants to experience everything. And so part of being very prominent and in the light and shining light in a very big way, in whatever medium you may choose to do that, that is something that every single soul experiences at some level. Okay. But realize that all of the other stars are supporting you. You are never alone. There is no such thing as being ever alone. You are connected to every single thing within the universe. Every single blade of grass, every tree, every item, every smell, every sight, every sound is connecting you to that original divine spark and light, which is the creator, the creator's light. You are all expressions of the creator's light. Okay. So I sort of can feel some questions here then, David, just from people that probably are going to be watching this. I'm going to be asking about others that we may know of on Earth that you might be connecting with up there. I am feeling Marc Bolan very strongly. Marc Bolan, he's saying, has got such a sweet, gentle nature and is very healing to be around. Not saying that I need healing the whole time, but he just has an aura that is very, very special and very delicate and very sensitive, and I enjoy being in his presence. Okay, so Marc Bolan. I'm just trying to sense any other energy around Bowie at the moment. Nothing else is coming through at the moment. I'm sure there are many, but I'm not picking it up right this second. Okay, so I'm just, for some reason, he's just showing me Marc Bolan. Okay. Hi, sorry about all the chop and changing on this video. We've had a lot of interruptions actually. I've had my dog barking, I've had noise going on within the house and external. So I just went and had some lunch and I've come back to it, and I'm just going to do a little bit more and then I will do another video on David another day. Because I do feel as though this first video feels more like a getting to know his energy type video. Happened with Prince actually. The first video I did with Prince, it took me a while to get into his vibration, and it's the same with David. So I know the second one, maybe we can have some other questions in and I can direct it a little bit more, but this just feels like a getting to know you type energy with him. I also, as I was having lunch, I was just sort of like back and forth saying to him, you know, is it going okay? And he was like, is it going okay? And what he means by that is I feel like both of us actually feel quite vulnerable. I feel vulnerable because it's a new energy that I'm not familiar with. And he's vulnerable because I don't think he ever used to give many interviews. And even though this isn't an interview, it's sort of got that feel of, you know, what do you expect me to say? Am I saying it the right way? Am I saying what you expect me to hear? And that's coming from him. So there's a bit of that. And then there's a bit of my stuff as well in terms of, you know, this is just it's a different energy. So we're getting there. We are getting there. And then as we were sort of having that little chat, I had the energy, and I was thinking about Marc Bolan, and I was thinking, I don't still fully understand the Marc Bolan thing, David. Freddie Mercury comes in, okay, from nowhere. And Freddie's there, sort of, you know, in his white top with his bare arms, his moustache, he's smoking a cigarette, he's very chilled out, and he's just trying to, you know, lighten us both up a little bit. And it really made me smile, and it made David smile as well. Although, you know, Freddie was like sort of pushing his way onto the bench a bit where we were all sitting, although he's discreetly left again now. But yeah, Freddie was wanting to come in and say, yeah, he knows me as well, but it was like he didn't want to steal the spotlight, as it were. So The Marc Bolan thing, what I'm sensing from David is that it's almost like a childlike connection between those two. They're almost, I don't know whether they were childhood friends, but that's sort of the energy that I'm getting, that they knew each other for a long time, and also that it was a connection that wasn't really anything to do with stardom. That's why I think I'm finding it hard to link to it, because it's like it's Marc Bolan, but it's not really Marc Bolan. It's David Bowie, but it's not really David Bowie. It's basically David Jones, and it's Marc Bolan, whoever he was behind closed doors. It's very much on that level, and it feels very private, actually. It feels very private, very sacred. It feels as though it was a very important relationship for both of them as they sort of grappled with stardom and fame. But it wasn't really ever about them meeting as stars. It was very much about them meeting as almost, I want to say, the boys within them. It was the boys that had the relationship. So that's as far as I can get with Marc. Okay, let's just see anything else that David wants to say today. And so let's just tune back into where he is. For some reason, his breathing looks heavy. And I feel as though this is linked to again, it's the vibration of Earth, because he's a bit nearer to Earth talking to us. I mean, he's fine, don't worry about him. But I'm feeling his breathing feels heavy. I'm noticing your breathing is heavy for some reason. What's that all about? He's saying there is a heaviness here on Earth. And he's saying this is one of the reasons why they are wanting to come back to help us, to lift the vibration. To take our mind away from looking down at the ground and up to the stars, and also to increase our vision in terms of what is possible. Also to help us see how far we have already expanded and evolved and are continuing to do so. But at the moment he's saying everyone's almost like looking down at the ground a lot of the time. And when you look down at the ground, it's almost like you constrict your rib cage a little bit. It's like your lungs get a little bit squashed. He's saying this thing, it's really important to just keep your, he's talking about posture, to keep your posture very upright. He's showing me himself with a very upright posture. I'm very guilty of doing this, and I'm a tall woman, so I shouldn't do it. So he's saying there's this thing about posture being important, the breathing, correct alignment is very important. And also the feet upon the earth, being very conscious of your right and your left hand side. I suppose he would say that, because the right and the left hand side are the masculine and the feminine sides of ourselves. So just making sure that we're in balance. And he's and I like a lot of them show when they come closer to Earth, there is just this memory of how dense it is down here. Okay, so take a nice deep breath, Metatron is saying. He's just smiling at him. Okay, you realise, David, your fans miss you hugely. Yes, and your manner of passing was quite unexpected for many people, because you hadn't shared, I don't believe that you were as ill as you were, or that the days were as close to your final curtain call as it were. So it was a shock to many people. He's saying yes, he understands that. I'm getting this sense that where he comes from, galactically, there is much more, what's the right word? I was going to say privacy, sacredness around the actual act of dying. Okay, and and of course death and how we die is something that should be sacred. Some people don't get that experience, of course. They die in manners and in places where it is not ideal. But he says always realise that your loved ones and your guides and the archangels responsible are there to help you back to, you know, where you need to be when you cross the bridge. But for him and his death, we're not going to get into it too hugely, because it feels as though it was very private, very sacred. The right people were around him that needed to be around him. He says that he had made peace with his passing. He had made peace with what was to come. He felt as though he had accomplished what he needed to accomplish in this life. and that he had left a good blueprint upon the planet that will stay. This is quite interesting. This seems to again refer back to maybe an Andromeda type energy. I said earlier there's a coolness with the energy. So here he's saying sometimes that we can be over sentimental with death. That death is death. Death is just literally going through the gateway to another dimension, and we should see it as that. There's something about no need for too much sentimentality around it. No need to mourn for me. No need to look for me where I used to be. I'm no longer there. You know, I'm free. I'm as free. I'm freer than I ever have been. So just interesting. I'm just hearing the word sentimentality and death, and there's no need for show. No need for just keep it simple, keep it sacred, keep it private. That's sort of the energy that I'm feeling with him. And he says, and it can be done. It can be done. Okay. David, just show us a little bit then about how your energy is still interacting here upon the earth. Are you still present here, you know, around on the earth? Yes, absolutely. He's showing me the continent of Africa. I think that's probably a nod to his wife as well. He's showing me the continent Africa. He is showing me, it's interesting, he's showing me like a bird's eye view of Earth. So it's literally as if you were looking down on Earth, you basically see the continents, don't you? You see the continents. And for some reason, there is a focus on the continents rather than individual towns or villages or, you know, even countries. There's this thing about needing to bring the continents of the earth together, you know, for the continent of Africa to feel as though it is in harmony with the continent of Europe, for the continent of Europe to feel that it's there's a bridge with Asia, as an example. He's showing me all these bridges between different continents, okay? And he's saying that there are things that can help bridge the unbridgeable, one of which is music, of course. Other things as well can do that. His energy is very, very peaceful, very peaceful. And I do feel as though he's coming across more as like a peace ambassador. That's what I feel, sort of doing this. I feel like he's an ambassador for peace, and wanting to help bring peace. Got the energy of John Lennon here coming in now as well, with David. David and John seem to somehow be doing something in terms of overseeing, watching over, helping, bringing in peace. David's giving me the song China Girl, which of course he created. I remember watching the video. Don't know why I'm doing this. I'm doing like sign language with my hands. So China Girl, bringing in that influence to people, for example, in England or Australia that were watching it, bringing in another culture. I can hear that song in my mind now. He really, for some reason, he particularly likes that song or is proud of that song. Meant something at the time, obviously. How else is he? I mean, who are you linked with in terms of other ascended beings or galactics? I mean, it's galactic. It's not. It doesn't feel so angelic. It doesn't feel an angelic frequency. There is this nod to Metatron, because Metatron is sort of like the gatekeeper energy. He's saying Metatron's the one that you go through the gateway to get to the galactics. Metatron's the gatekeeper that gets you to the angelics. So he knows Metatron. He knows Melchizedek. But above that, we've got the galactic division, I want to say. Or there's also an energy of Great White Brotherhood as well, which is the Ascended Masters. Again, his energy is he's not going to be tied to one thing. He's not going to be tied to one being. He's not going to be tied to one country or one belief. He's coming across very much like an umbrella type energy, watching over the world. But I'm seeing it literally as though you're looking at the earth from on high, from space. What do you think of where we're at the moment, David, then, with regard to Earth and the problems we've got here? I'm really being drawn to the oceans with him, really being drawn to the oceans. As I'm looking down onto Earth, for some reason, he's really linking me into the oceans and the waters. I'm not sure why, but I'm seeing that very strongly, because the waters of the world are a bridge. Oh, okay, the waters of the world are the bridge. You can have water that starts in Africa, but via rain and going up into the clouds comes back down into, I don't know, Canada or wherever else. Water is a bridge. Water is a carrier. Water holds many life forms, he's saying. Many organisms within water. Many of which are not of the earth, by the very nature that water is this thing that is able to be on the earth but also in the sky, via clouds and rain and vapor coming and going. So water is this energy which is magical, he's saying, that is able to bring new states of consciousness into new places. Water is able to cleanse. Water is able to help people let go and places let go. Water is important. I'm wanting to say I'm feeling that you can connect his energy via water. I'm seeing now waterfalls, because his energy is just so fluid. I'm seeing huge waterfalls, Niagara Falls. I'm seeing other waterfalls that I have no name for, but gushing water. Okay. Any final message for today then, David? And then we'll come back another time. Strange. It's something along the lines of, don't be like little mice, okay? Don't be like little mice. So if we're not going to be like little mice, give me an animal that illustrates what you're trying to say. The eagle. Okay, he's giving me the eagle. So rather than being the little mice, which are can be prey to larger animals, including probably the eagle, be the eagle. Be the eagle that soars. Be the eagle with the huge wingspan. Be the eagle with the wisdom. Be the eagle that's able to see further than anything else. Be the eagle that can see the bird's eye view, that can see from a higher perspective. Be the eagle that is majestic. Be the eagle that is imperial. Be the eagle. Actually, looking now at his eyes, there is like an eagle-like energy to his eyes. Now I'm looking at him. So there seems to be something about the bird king. Why are they all going on about birds? Prince went on about birds. What is it about birds? What's not to like about them, David says. I'm even wondering whether he used to be a bird watcher or something. It's really strange. I'm seeing birds. There's 3 birds circling outside the house now. There's something about the bird kingdom anyway. Maybe it's just to do with flight. Birds carry the wisdom from other... Oh, okay. Birds carry the wisdom from other dimensions, he's saying. Birds are like a few of other animals that exist upon our planet. Birds are the oldest species, one of the oldest species that still exist on our planet, that have been here for thousands of years. Okay, they've evolved, but the birds are very constant, he's saying. And he's also talking about how birds emigrate and birds come and go. Birds can literally cross the whole, from one side of the earth to the other side of the earth. and it's like they have this homing sort of sense of where to go. And they fly as a tribe, don't they? And he's showing me this V formation for some reason. He's showing me them flying in a V formation. But again, it's this thing about one bird, but yet they're part of a larger flock. There's something about a larger flock. I'm seeing the V, like a V sign, but the V sign is also linked into some sort of galactic symbol as well. It's almost a bit Spock-like, I want to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. That's what it feels like. Okay, right, I'm going to let him go now because my battery is running out as well. Okay, so let's just say goodbye to David for now. Thank him for being here. You've been brilliant, David. Thank you so much. Please come again, won't you? He says, absolutely, I'll come again. Oh, he's so funny. It's like I'm seeing a diary. It's like he's all energetic, guys. But it's like he's pulling out a diary and he's saying, okay, should we make a date? It's like, again, it's this structure. It's like, okay, yeah, so when do you want me back? It's that type of feeling. You can come back whenever you want to, but I understand what you mean. You want a specific date to come back. We'll look at that. I'll sort that out with you. Okay, thank you. So with love and with great appreciation and thanks, thank you, David Bowie. So let's just see him back now across the bridge. And he's walking back within the same footprints that he walked in with. Remember, he was leaving footprints, I think, on the bridge. And he fades into view. Okay, goes back with love. Thank you, thank you. And then for us, just with Metatron being present, just feel yourselves just walking back to the place where you came, and then put your feet down wherever you're sitting now, or wherever you're standing or lying, feeling your feet on the earth, ground yourself, and then we just see that rainbow light, that galactic rainbow, just disappearing and fading, and we just connect into the energy of earth and feel comfortable here on earth. Okay, that's it, guys. Much love. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll do another session with David soon. Bye for now. Lots of love. Bye.